It's been a while. It's been a long time. It's been almost 2 weeks, but I finally done it. I'm not gonna do no intro because I want y'all to see the upgrade that I've been longing. Okay, that I've always been talking about. Okay, it's finally here. Right, everything looks improved now. So we're gonna get into this now. Right.
The extraordinary city of Venice, Queen of the Adriatic. Behind the elegant facade of its famous domes and canals lies the dramatic history of a 1,000-year empire, a maritime republic, and formidable naval power. But this great...
I've always heard about Venice. I've actually always wondered this question. Like, how did Venice actually pull this off? Because Venice is like such a small city, but this is a question I've never really delved into ever. But get on Epic History TV for covering topics that people don't really, talk about. So I really do look forward to this.
Great city had unlikely origins. At the height of the Roman Empire, these coastal lagoons were home only to small fishing communities.
Oh.
But in the 5th century AD, the Western Roman Empire was overrun by barbarian tribes. As Italy became a battleground for Huns, Goths, Eastern Romans, and Lombards, many sought refuge among the lagoons.
I don't really like the fact that Epic History TV calls them barbarians. In fact, I don't like the fact that anyone, frankly speaking, calls them barbarians because, I'm like reacting to like a whole bunch of like Roman history right now, and they were much more civilized than barbarians. Granted, they were brutal. But everyone in this time period was brutal, frankly speaking. So, also, if you haven't noticed, my webcam, it has a tracker. So every time I move around, it also moves around. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I think I may have broken it there. Did I break? I think I broke it there. Did I break it? Oh wait, yeah, I think I broke it. Okay, so yeah, like I was saying,
726.
You're gonna have to get used to me, I think I broke it again. It's whatever. Let's continue, man. Let's continue.
These refugees elected Orso to be their duke or doge, the first in an unbroken line of 117 doges who'd ruled Venice for 1,000 years.
Wait, Doge? Like the Roblox Doge? Sorry. What? Doge? Whatever.
Years, much of Italy was ruled by a resurgent Eastern Roman or Byzantine Empire.
No! Eastern Roman Empire, not Byzantine Empire. No! Come on. Epic History TV. It's 2024. Everyone at this point knows that Byzantine is not the correct term to use. Come on, Epic History TV.
Province, known as the Exarchate of Ravenna, fell to the Lombards in 751. Only Venice held out, protected by its lagoons. Answering the Pope's call for aid, Charlemagne and the Franks came to Italy and crushed the Lombards. But they also failed to take Venice. Charlemagne's son, Pepin, king of Italy, was said to have died from a fever caught in the marshes that surrounded Venice as he tried to attack the city. In the following decades, Venice asserted its independence from the Byzantine Empire, and thanks to its location, flourished as a trading hub between Europe and the East. Venetian merchants sold Italian grain and wine to the great city of Constantinople, where they bought spices and silk to sell to Western Europe.
But my question is, Venice. Oh wait, no, that's actually very stupid of me to ask because now that I look at Venice, I'm looking at Venice and I'm like, I don't see how it could be like so strategic like Constantinople, right? But the more I look at it, the more I realize, yeah, yeah, this is actually a nice spot to have a city because, you know, you wouldn't need to go all the way around to like southern France or like northwestern Italy to another city. Yeah. Yeah, this is actually a really nice spot the more that I look at it. Never mind, never mind.
Above all, Venice's early success came from the trade of salt, the vital food preservative of the medieval world, harvested from salt pans and lagoons. The Venetians went so far as to describe salt as il vero fondamento del nostro Stato, the true foundation of our state. In 828, two Venetian merchants visiting Alexandria.
This reminds me of how I actually had a comment. Someone, it was like on one of my like Roman history reactions or something like that, and they told me something that like salt was so important. I forgot what the comment was like in detail, but he told me that salt was like so important that the term salary comes from the word salt, right? That's how important the word salt is. So that actually just reminds me of that comment, you know? That's actually really cool. Like I didn't know salt was a big deal. I just thought salt was just there to make things taste good, you know? But then again, now that I think about it, like spices, that like that's why the whole New World got discovered because Europeans wanted spices and whatnot. I know that salt isn't a spice, but I'm just saying like seasoning. Uh, I didn't know people really loved their seasoning back then. Okay.
Smuggled the supposed body of St. Mark back to Venice to boost the standing of their home city. The saint's relics were interred in the city's great new church, the Basilica di San Marco. The first basilica was destroyed by fire in 976. Today's cathedral, consecrated in 1094, stands on the same site. St. Mark became the city's patron saint. His emblem, the winged lion, became the symbol of the Republic and decorated its standard.
That looks cool. That looks cool.
Venetian trade routes to the east were plagued by pirates from the Balkan and North African coasts. So Venice built a navy to drive them from the seas and garrison.
Now this is what really interests me about Venice, the Navy. The Navy. I always wondered how in the world did Venice pull this off, being such a small city. Because what I'm getting at here is Venice made a lot of money because it was in a strategic location. Like it is like what is that country called? Singapore. It's basically like the Singapore of Europe right now. That's what I'm getting at right now.
Strategic harbors and islands along the Adriatic shore. By the year 1000, doges of Venice were also styling themselves Dukes of Dalmatia.
Wow, I just built the most...
The distinctive Venetian warship was the galley, powered by up to 150 oars and triangular lateen sails, rigged fore and aft. Weapons included a battering ram and around 30 crossbowmen.
Crossbow. I never really heard of crossbows being used that much. Never ever really heard crossbows being used that much. Not only that, but like, weren't crossbows much more cheaper and much more cost efficient than bows? Because with bow and arrows, you have to train people, right? I think I made a comment about this in one of my videos. I forgot which one, but I think I asked a question like, why weren't crossbows used that much? Or I think it was, why weren't bows used that much compared to crossbows? I don't know. I honestly forgot, like, frankly speaking, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just ignorant. I think like the 100 Years War crossbows were used, right? I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm being so ignorant right now, and someone is like just slowly, Oh my god, slowly getting angry with me. The fact that I don't know how much crossbows are used. I don't know. Maybe someone educate me, please.
Also
That's why I do
used
these
to transport
reactions.
high-value cargo, such as spices, silks, or precious stones. In 1103, construction began of Venice's famous Arsenale, a giant state-owned shipyard that would become one of Europe's largest industrial centres, employing around 2,000 workmen and turning out hundreds of ships a year.
My goodness, Venice, man.
Arsenale pioneered many modern industrial techniques and underpinned Venetian naval power for centuries.
Yo!
Armed with a powerful navy and
How in the world? Yeah, bro, Venice was a powerhouse. Sheesh, man.
lucrative trading concessions from the Byzantine Emperor, Venice rose to become the greatest commercial and naval power in the Eastern Mediterranean. But Venetian power also came through shrewd negotiation and self-interest. This was the age of the Crusades, and Venice was closely involved with Crusader states as allies and trading partners. In 1202, the Fourth Crusade arrived in Venice, seeking ships to take them to Egypt, but with no money to pay for them. Doge Enrico Dandolo sensed an opportunity. In exchange for loans, he first persuaded the Crusaders to capture Zadar for Venice. Then, relations having soured between Venice and the Byzantines, to attack Constantinople itself.
Wait, wasn't this the Fourth Crusade? This was. Oh, this is a crusade that sealed the fate of the. Oh no, I hate this crusade. Like, if there's like one event that really puts a stain in my mouth, it's the Fourth Crusade. Oh my dude, this thing was ugh.
In 1204, the world's greatest Christian city was sacked and plundered by self-proclaimed warriors of Christ.
The irony, it's so ironic, dude, because even now today, like so many people call themselves Christian and they openly go and just completely contradict themselves. It's just so embarrassing at this point. And they'll swear, quite literally, they'll swear on Jesus too that, oh, I'm going to heaven, bro. Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Venice took its share of the loot, including most famously 4 bronze horses from the Hippodrome of Constantine, which found a new home on the facade of St. Mark's Basilica in the center of Venice.
Disrespectful. I would not let this slide if that was me personally. This is actually still pretty cool though.
Doge Enrico and the Crusaders carved up the Byzantine Empire between them. Venice got the islands of the Aegean, Crete and the strategically placed ports of Modone and Korone, known henceforth as the Eyes of the Republic.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that Venice was the one responsible for the fall of the Roman Empire? Like wow.
Empire brought Venice unprecedented wealth and power, but fueled a bitter rivalry with another Italian maritime republic, Genoa. For more than a century, these two Italian city-states vied for supremacy in the Eastern Mediterranean, their wars ranging from the Levant to Sicily, the Aegean, Black Sea, and Adriatic.
How do you even fight a war? Look at their territory. How do you fight a war? This must most likely be freaking naval territory, right? Like naval battles. This has to be like naval battles or something. Like, how do you even fight a war like this? Seriously. like, how do you make the other side capitulate? You like destroy enough of their navy to the point where they're forced to capitulate? Like, what?
During these wars, a Venetian captain named Marco Polo was taken prisoner and used his time in a Genoese jail to dictate an account of his travels in China.
Marco Polo was Venetian?
Rivalry became a regional
Man, I am learning a lot here. I am learning a lot, and I love it.
conflict. Genoa making alliances with the Habsburg Duke of Austria, the King of Hungary, and Padua. Venice with the revived Byzantine Empire, Cyprus, and Milan. The fortunes of war ebbed and flowed.
Wait. Venice was the one who sacked the Eastern Roman Empire, and now they're allies with the Eastern Roman Empire. The irony. Why would the Eastern Roman Empire do that? Oh. Wow, okay.
Until in 1379, Venice came under attack from land and sea, with a Genoese force occupying Chioggia, just 15 miles south of the city. But Venice miraculously turned the tables, using galleys armed with gunpowder artillery for the first time to trap and capture the Genoese fleet.
Gunpowder artillery, okay.
The wars finally ended in 1381 with the Peace of Turin. Venice had to make significant concessions, and like Genoa, had been exhausted by war. But while Genoa...
Why couldn't Venice not expand via the land? Why didn't they try to expand via the land? Like, what's going on here?
soon fell victim to internal feuding, Venice would stage an astonishing recovery, thanks in large part to the unique system of government by which the Republic was now ruled.
Okay, I want to hear it. Let me hear it. Let me hear it. The most miraculous
city of Venice,
okay.
Rich in gold, but richer in fame. Strong in power, but stronger in virtue. Built on both solid marble and the harmony of its citizens. Petrarch. While Western Europe was dominated by kings who claimed to rule by divine right, several Italian city-states harked back to classical forms of government, chiefly the idea of the Republic. Res publica.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that even before the French Revolution, because I always had the impression that after the French Revolution, I'm like so tired from work and no, but seriously, I seriously thought that after the French Revolution, not before the French Revolution, I'm being so slow, but I thought before the French Revolution that there was no republic. I thought everyone was basically a monarchy. I thought after the Roman Empire became an empire, like that whole republicanism thing just fell apart until, America and became a republic, and then France became a republic during the French Revolution. But even then, Napoleon came and messed that up. But my point is, I didn't know that there were republics before, like the American Revolution and the French Revolution, and literally after the fall of the Roman Republic. Frankly, I thought after the fall of the Greek and the Roman republics, I thought like no one didn't really try that system. Wow.
The thing of the people. However, at the height of its power, Venice's republic, La Serenissima as it was known, was firmly in the hands of its nobility. Only those whose names were listed in the Golden Book, the city's registry of nobility, could join the Great Council, which appointed all senior officials through a complex system of voting and drawing lots.
So basically, this is like how America is like. You have a handful of people running the country. In a nutshell, that's literally what America is like. America's a republic, but the people don't care. People don't care about politics. In fact, speaking of politics, now that I actually have my equipment, I'm going to be making a lot of videos on geopolitics. So look out for that. Okay?
They chose 40 of their members to form the Quarantia, who supervised economic affairs, and 200 to 300 to form the Senate, the main legislative body, attended in addition by the Republic's admirals, generals and diplomats. The elected head of government remained the doge. His powers had been steadily diminished, until by the 1400s, he was no more, Venetians joked, than a tavern sign, a decorative symbol of power, though he continued to wield huge influence.
Constitutional monarch somewhat.
The day-to-day government was the Signoria, made up of the doge, the 6 members of his minor council, and 3 representatives of the Quarantia. They could be joined by 3 boards of special advisors, known as the Savi, or wise men, to form the full college. The Council of 10, meanwhile, had a special remit to sniff out subversion. It was a system that eventually acquired so many checks and balances that change, for good or ill, seemed both unimaginable and undesirable.
Wow. I was gonna say, that sounds a lot like American democracy, right? American democracy, people think that change is like so impossible because of the way how like checks and balances are. But no, that's not true. Change can happen if the elites of the country want it, of course. If the common folk want it, that's probably not going to happen. Well, it can happen. It's just that usually when the common folk wants change, other common folk don't care because most people, frankly speaking, especially in America and the West, no, because I know Western Europe, like France and those countries, people care about politics there a lot more than America, but Americans, they only care about entertainment, pop culture, what's the latest trend. So, they'll literally, I've seen so many people be like, oh, I avoid politics, I don't care about politics. And then they'll turn around, they'll be like, why is everything so bad? And then whenever I point this out, they're like, oh, wait a minute, you do have a point. Like, oh my God. Guys, you can't say I don't care about politics, because politics is literally what dictates your life. That's literally the reason why politics exists, people. Like, please care about politics.
The Constitution of Venice, an insuperable monument of wisdom and efficiency. Gasparo Contarini.
Holy Roman Empire.
An idea developed across Europe that Venice's constitution contained the 3 classical forms of government: democracy, oligarchy, and monarchy, in perfect balance, and so ensured...
That's literally what I noticed. I was like, this is like constitutional monarchy, and then I pointed out it's like an oligarchy. And then this whole thing was basically supposed to be like a democracy. This is actually a very interesting system.
Social harmony and stability. The myth of Venice, as this became known, overlooked the Republic's healthy tradition of attempted coups, rampant corruption, and social tension.
Whoa, never mind.
But the Venetians did achieve something rare in the medieval and Renaissance world.
Oh, really?
Durable, stable, and effective government.
Wow.
The Serene Republic had one further strikingly modern feature. The best diplomats in Europe, skilled ambassadors in every capital and court, sending information back to Venice in secret code from across the continent.
I wouldn't really say that the way how Venice's government is modern. I wouldn't really say that. Because I think that monarchy is, I think monarchy is modern too, right? Like, I don't know. A republic is definitely not modern. Come on. No, a republic is not. No. At History TV, no.
Venice would need every advantage, for the years ahead would be dominated by bitter wars with her Italian neighbors and new challenges to her empire. You Venetians are very wrong to disturb the peace of other states, rather than to rest content with the most splendid state of Italy, which you already possess. If you knew how you are universally hated, your hair would stand on end. You are alone, with all the world against you.
Damn!
So sforza.
Those are some very those words are very strong, man. Very strong words. I can't even like find a word. I can only say strong.
For centuries, Venice had stood apart from the territorial wars of her Italian neighbours, focusing instead on her maritime empire. But the war with Genoa, and particularly the Genoese occupation of Chioggia, had shown the Venetians that their city was vulnerable. In 1404, she was attacked again by former allies, the Carrara family of Padua. But the Republic assembled a large army from across her empire and was victorious, annexing Padua and conquering Verona.
Oh, so they're expanding by land.
In Friuli. Doge Francesco Foscari, whose 34-year reign was the longest of any doge, was determined that Venice must continue to expand her territory in Italy for her own security.
Yes! This is literally what I was thinking in my head. I was like thinking to myself, like, why is Venice not expanding via the land? Like, I get it. You know, you're making a lot of money with the Navy, but and the maritime trade, but you still need a land because eventually someone is going to become a powerful land force. And what are you going to do in that moment, right? You're not Britain where you're an island, right? Like,
he used the Republic's enormous wealth to hire bands of mercenaries, led by captains known in Italy as condottieri. Their name came from the Italian word condotta, or contract, and they had been an important feature of Italian warfare since the 1300s. Initially, these mercenary bands were led by and made up of foreigners, Catalans, Germans, Hungarians, even Englishmen.
wow.
But by the 1400s, Italian condottieri were leading these armies, waging wars on behalf of competing states, and sometimes even conquering Italian states for themselves. Condottieri would often switch their allegiance to the highest bidder. Their soldiers were equally disloyal and notoriously unruly.
So this is pretty much common, very normal, nothing surprising to me. So yeah, for this time period, this is very, very like not shocking to me at all.
Since they fought for nothing but personal gain, and often switched sides, they had no interest in slaughter. And so their battles were often theatrical and virtually bloodless affairs.
What? That is actually a first.
Venetian doge and his condottieri put Venice on a collision course with the leading power in northern Italy, the Duchy of Milan. A long war began between the two states and their allies, with the Venetians winning a great victory at Merclodio. In the treaty that followed, Venice gained yet more territory, pushing west past Bergamo to the River Adda. But war soon broke out again. For nearly 3 decades, northern Italy was ravaged by bands of mercenaries. Their leaders were immortalized by the great artists of the day, men such as Francesco Sforza and Bartolomeo Colleoni.
The art looks so nice. I'm not gonna lie to you. The art looks very detailed.
By the Peace of Lodi, Venice secured her Domini di Terraferma, her mainland state, to go with her Stato da Mar, her overseas empire. 40 years of relative peace followed.
You know what Venice reminds me of? Venice honestly reminds me of Barbados. I'm not even saying that because I'm from there. Because Barbados has a reputation of being like an extremely secure, extremely wealthy, extremely peaceful country compared to its neighbors. In fact, the fact that it has the reputation of being so stable and good, attracted so many investors, which contributed to its wealth. And the more I was watching this, the more I'm like, this honestly really does remind me a lot like of my country because I'm like despite its location and size, even the United Nations even pointed out how Barbados has a reputation of punching above its weight. So, yeah, I honestly respect Venice a lot for that. It's like, wow, best stay in Italy is like, you're like the best, arguably the best Caribbean nation, or island, arguably. I remember back in the day, we were like the best of the best, but I know the Bahamas has kind of like creeped behind us because, its strategic location, like Venice, is right next to America, so it's getting all that tourism money. But I know the Bahamas has a very bad wealth inequality. The only thing about Barbados that's bad is the cost of living because the government takes too much loans from the IMF bank. But I never really heard of Barbados having like a super bad wealth inequality. Like I never really heard anything like that down there. So
Shattered in 1494 when the King of France, Charles VIII, invaded Italy with a large army. His goal? To enforce his hereditary claim to the Kingdom of Naples. But his actions united even bitter enemies like Milan and Venice against him. The Italian states formed the League of Venice, led by the Borgia Pope Alexander VI, and fought King Charles at Fornovo, but could not prevent his escape back to France. It was the beginning of a long conflict, known simply as the Italian Wars, which saw northern Italy become the primary battleground in the bitter contest between the kings of France and the Habsburg emperors. It was fought against the backdrop of the Italian Renaissance and Protestant Reformation, a complex and sprawling conflict that would last 6 decades.
I've never heard of this up until now. Oh, I need to learn more about this. You see this time period? This time period, I don't know much about this time period, so this is very, very enlightening to me.
The early display of Italian unity was short-lived. Venice soon switched sides, allying with the King of France against Milan in order to share in the spoils of her defeat.
Wow.
Venetian ambition was now regarded as a major threat by her Italian neighbours. Of these, none was more ruthless than the Pope. Pope Julius II, the man who commissioned Michelangelo to paint the Sistine Chapel and created the Pope's famous Swiss Guard, was determined to crush Venetian power. Venice, he declared, would be returned to the status of a fishing village.
Wild words.
Issued a papal
Strong words.
decree excommunicating the entire Venetian Republic, a bold move that effectively declared open season on the Venetian state, its assets and citizens.
Oh no!
Assembled a formidable alliance against Venice, the League of Cambrai, the mightiest ever faced by a single Italian state.
Ooh, look at that!
Faced an existential threat.
Oh!
In 1509, at the Battle of Agnadello, her forces suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of the French king.
Yeah, I think this is it. I think it's GG.
Hi. One contemporary, the Florentine diplomat Niccolò Machiavelli, wrote that Venice had lost in one day what it had taken her 800 years to conquer.
Yeah, it's over.
The Italian wars were notorious, not just for their many atrocities, but their shifting alliances, twists and turns. Within a year, the Pope had switched sides, forming an alliance with Venice to fight the French.
What? What is going on? What is going on? This is actually hilarious. No way. Was he the same one who said that Venice needs to be returned to a fishing village? My gosh. I'm sorry, man. Like, it just blows my mind how like alliances back then worked. You know, oh my gosh, and people could just switch sides like if nothing happened. Like, hey guys, I was just killing you like yesterday, but apparently we're allies now, so let's go team up. And like nobody cares. It just blows my mind how people, wow.
Then Venice switched sides, siding with France against the Pope, and helping to win a crushing victory over the Pope's Swiss mercenaries at Marignano.
Oh my, how many times are they gonna switch sides?
8 years after Venice faced destruction by the League of Cambrai, the Treaty of Noyon restored nearly all her former territories. The Republic had run the gauntlet of foreign powers and formidable alliances. But through sharp diplomacy, political flexibility, and a little good fortune, she had survived.
A little? More like a big fortune, not even a little.
It is the most triumphant city that I have ever seen. Philippe de Comines. Despite the long years of war, the Venetian Republic was a driving force of the Italian Renaissance, and the 15th and 16th centuries were its golden age.
Wow, amazing.
Venice was home to great Renaissance painters, such as Giovanni and Gentile Bellini, Vittorio Carpaccio, Titian, and Tintoretto.
I've never heard of these people, by the way.
Architects like Palladio, and scholars like Francesco Barbaro. He was one of the new humanists who devoted their lives to the rediscovery, study and sharing of texts from ancient Greece and Rome. Venice became a beacon for the greatest European minds of the age. Visitors included the great Dutch philosopher Erasmus of Rotterdam, and the Italian astronomer Galileo, who demonstrated his telescope for the Doge. But Venetians had a reputation as doers rather than thinkers. Their city was renowned as a centre of craftsmanship, producing Europe's finest glassware, as well as silks, cottons, and wood carvings.
Dude, Venice has everything. Venice has everything. This is what I envision for the future of my country. Like everything at Venice here, I always envision this for my country because I can draw parallels. I always tell people this. I always tell people that when I'm older or something, I would unironically try and see if I could become the prime minister of my country. And I was discussing this with a few people before, and all of this right here is what I envision for my country personally, because Barbados is a small country. In fact, I can compare the fact that the island is 21 miles long, right? 21 miles long. That's very comparable to a city state, right? Especially a city state like Venice, right? How did Venice start out, right? And not only that, but it's completely surrounded by water, right? Obviously it's an island, which gives it a big advantage. And I can say a lot. I'm not going to say too much, but all I'm saying is that this is what I envision me personally. That I would love to see for the future of my country, right? If let's continue, shall we?
Nowhere were the city's mercantile and scholarly traditions more brilliantly combined than in the world of printing. Doge Cristoforo Moro issued the city's first printing license in 1469. 30 years later, Venice was producing more books than Florence, Milan, Rome and Naples combined. Venice was where Aldus Manutius invented the paperback and set out to publish every surviving great work from classical Greece. By the end of the 15th century, Venice was the printing capital of the world.
How could this fall apart?
History against a backdrop of a city often described as the most beautiful in the world. The Venetians combined Renaissance architectural ideals with their city's unique lagoon setting and created a masterpiece. The famous Grand Canal, the Rialto Bridge, and the Bridge of Sighs, where prisoners got their last glimpse of the beauty of Venice before descending into its cells.
Wow. Yo,
Along the Grand
dude, imagine being a prisoner. Imagine being a prisoner, man. Oh, nah. I don't know how I would feel. It's like bittersweet. Not even sweet, no, sweet bitter. You get the sweet bitter ending.
the palaces of the city's great merchant families. Because for all its grandeur, business here was never less than cutthroat. Venetian merchants were the most treacherous, lying, thieving scoundrels such as I never believed existed on Earth. According to one visitor,
I would say a specific group of people, but I don't want to say it because I don't want this video to get flagged for hate speech. All right? All I'm going to say is I'm just going to drop hints. It reminds me of a certain, allegedly. I'm just going to say allegedly. Okay? This sounds like a certain group of people from a country that has the most people on the earth. All right? Allegedly. Okay? That loves to use tech support and computers. Okay? Allegedly. All right? I didn't say that they are like that. Allegedly, that's what I heard. Allegedly. I don't even want to say the name because I don't want to mess with YouTube, and I don't know. YouTube, like, they can take transcripts of videos, and if the AI thinks it's something bad, they will literally kill. Like, they'll shadow ban you so fast. I was shadow banned for like 7 months, and that was so awful.
German printmaker Albrecht Dürer. Do not awake our terrible sword, for we shall wage most cruel war against you everywhere. Neither put your trust in your treasure, for we shall cause it suddenly to run from you like a torrent. Beware, therefore, lest you arouse our wrath. Ottoman Sultan Selim II to the Signoria of Venice.
Uh-oh! Final boss! Final boss!
While Venetian culture flourished, across the seas her empire faced a new and terrible threat. In 1453, the Byzantine Empire, which Venice had helped to weaken 2 centuries before, fell to the Ottoman Turks. Initially, the relationship between Venice and the Ottomans was businesslike. Venetian merchants were allowed to remain in Constantinople with the same trading privileges they'd always had under the Byzantine Empire. But there could be no illusions about the Turks' next target. Ottoman Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror had the Venetian Empire firmly in his sights.
Whoa!
The onslaught was not long in coming.
Final boss!
And Negroponte fell first, as Venice struggled to defend her empire against Ottoman military might.
Dude, you can't defend this. You're scattered. Venice, you're scattered everywhere. Like, eventually, actually, I said this earlier in this video, eventually someone is going to come, some land power is going to come that conquers someone else. I didn't say it exactly like that, but I said earlier that some land power is eventually going to come and just gobble all of this up. Like,
this conflict would last, on and off, for more than 2 centuries. The Venetian fleet, once so dominant, was overwhelmed by Ottoman naval forces, led by skilled admirals such as Hayreddin Barbarossa. By 1500, even the twin eyes of the Republic, Modone and Corone, had been put out. Successive doges could only watch on, powerless, as the Venetian power base in the east crumbled. In 1570, the Ottomans came for Cyprus. The garrison of Famagusta only surrendered after an 11-month siege. In violation of the terms of surrender, the Venetian commander, Marcantonio Bragadin, was flayed alive.
Oh! Oh my gosh!
After a century of Venetian defeats, efforts to form a Christian alliance against the Ottomans finally paid off.
Look, Venice, you kind of had that coming. You literally made the Byzantine Empire fall apart. You had this coming.
The Holy League, led by Venice and Spain, sent a powerful fleet east. They met the Ottomans in the greatest galley battle in history, at Lepanto. The Venetians, fired on by their desire to avenge Bragadin's terrible death, led the Christian fleet to a stunning victory.
Alright, Venice!
But for all its fame, Lepanto did little to shift the balance of power in the Mediterranean. The Ottoman onslaught had been merely blunted, not defeated.
Yeah, however, I think, wasn't this the battle that stopped the Ottomans from ever having a possibility of, like, leaving the Mediterranean, right, and colonizing, like, the New World and whatnot? Right? I think I had a comment. Someone told me that the Ottomans had, like, a little colony somewhere. I forgot where, to be honest.
The Dominion of Crete is Italy's outer defence, the gate whereby the insidious force of the Turk may penetrate, to the great hurt of the major part of Europe. Venetian ambassador Giovanni Sagredo to Oliver Cromwell.
Picture
Cromwell.
sitting at home alone.
Cromwell, the man responsible for deporting thousands of Irish and Scottish people to the freaking Caribbean, well, the British West Indies. Well, the man responsible for, I mean, that was always a tradition that England would do. They would always, like, just send off people, but still, Cromwell, he, like, did that hard. Like, ugh. Without Cromwell, I don't know, half of my ancestors would be God knows where. Because I'm mixed race. I'm mixed race. I'm Creole. A person of European African descent. I always say this, but gotta thank Cromwell for that.
A period of peace followed. But Venice was now a fading power. The Republic's prestige had always been linked to her dominance of the seas, but this was in steep decline. Crucially, she'd fallen behind in shipbuilding technology. While Venice clung on to her old galleys, Portuguese and Spanish captains sailed their caravels and carracks out into the Atlantic, pioneering new sea routes west to America and east to India.
It was only a matter of time.
Asia.
It was only a matter of time. Like, I knew this would eventually happen.
The wealth of Venice had relied on eastern trade via the Byzantine and then Ottoman empires. Now, she had been cut out. And while Venice fought costly wars in Italy and the Mediterranean, the city was repeatedly ravaged by plague.
Oh, I didn't think of this one.
Death of 1348 was the first, but outbreaks in 1575 and 1629 were almost as lethal, each killing about a third of the city's population.
My man. Ay, ay, ay.
Did what it could to prevent the spread of infection. Residents were ordered to stay home. though an exception was made for the funeral of the city's most famous artist, Titian. New arrivals had to isolate themselves aboard ship for 40 days. The quarantena. That's the
40 days. 40 days? My mind.
origin of quarantine. With Venice weakened by war and plague, the Ottomans sensed an easy victory. In 1645, they attacked Venice's last major overseas possession, Crete. The
Crete!
Republic rallied. Funds were raised from the nobility, and appeals went out to the crowned heads of Europe to fight once more for Christendom. But this time, Venice would stand alone.
Yeah, no one is gonna.
Crete was quickly overrun. But under the leadership of Francesco Morosini, said to always enter battle with his cat by his side, the port of Candia mounted a heroic resistance that was to last 21 years. One of the longest.
Whoa! 20. Yo, I was not expecting that. 21. How is this possible? Yo. I need to react to this. 20. What the hell?
Sieges in history. Simultaneously, an epic struggle raged across the Aegean Sea. Venetians and Ottomans now almost equal in naval power. Ultimately, the Venetians on their own could not save Crete. In 1669, with many thousands dead and the city in ruins, Candia surrendered to the Ottomans.
Oh!
After 465 years of Venetian rule, Crete had finally fallen. 15 years later, Venice and Doge Morosini had their chance for revenge.
Oh, okay.
In 1683, the Ottomans were defeated at the gates of Vienna, and Venice joined the grand counter-offensive, known as the Great Turkish War.
I never heard of this
An
one.
expedition that recaptured Lefkada and the Greek Peloponnese, then known as the Morea. But during the Venetian siege of Athens, one of their shells hit the Parthenon, where the Ottomans were storing ammunition. The resulting explosion tore through the 2,000-year-old temple, smashing columns and collapsing the roof.
No!
Adventure. It's not
Venice's restored
Yo. If there's one thing that really hurts me, is seeing the destruction of historical objects. Or like seeing like the removal of like historical like stuff, you know? That's so, oh man.
empire in Greece did not last long. By 1714, the Ottomans had recovered sufficiently to launch a swift campaign that reconquered the Morea. This, the seventh war between Venice and the Ottoman Empire, would prove the last. The reason was simple. Venice was no longer a Mediterranean power.
Yeah. Venice just fell off. Frankly
She is reduced
speaking.
to a passive existence. She has no more wars to sustain, peaces to conclude, or desires to express. A mere spectator of events, in her determination to take no part in events, she pretends to take no interest in them. Count Paul Daru. The 18th century saw Venice continue to shine as a cultural beacon, a city that dazzled visitors with its canals, churches, opera, and art. Bereft of empire, Venice crystallized into a state of glorious, luxurious stagnation, rigidly conservative, incapable of reform. Industry, commerce, and military power were neglected. So when the French Revolutionary Wars turned northern Italy into a battleground once more, Venice was ripe for picking. In 1796, a young French general named Napoleon Bonaparte, backed by a powerful army, demanded the Republic's surrender.
Napoleon was a nail in the coffin for Venice.
The Doge and Great Council could do but accept his terms. The French, assisted by Italian revolutionaries, tore down symbols of the Ancien Régime and La Serenissima's proud history as an independent republic. The horses of St. Mark were among hundreds of artworks crated up and sent to Paris.
Hey, Venice stole
of liberty.
Venice stole a bunch of stuff anyway, so I'm like, whatever, dude. It's like you got a taste of your own medicine.
The insignia and robes of the last Doge and the famous Golden Book were brought to the Piazza San Marco and burned.
Wow.
1,000 years of Venetian independence was at an end. Venice was awarded to Austria in 1797, later incorporated into Napoleon's Kingdom of Italy, and then, after his defeat, returned to Austria as part of the Kingdom of Lombardy-Venetia. But Venetian patriotism had not been completely snuffed out. In 1848, inspired by revolutions across Europe, its citizens rose up against the Austrians, declaring the formation of the Republic of San Marco. Austria gradually regained control of its Italian territories, but Venice, aided by its old ally, the sea, held out longest.
Of course,
The
as
Austrians
always.
even tried floating balloons carrying bombs into the city, the world's first aerial bombardment, though results were disappointing. After a 17-month siege, Venice surrendered and returned to Austrian control. But the 1848 revolutions had stoked the flames of Italian nationalism and desire for unification. The dreams of the Risorgimento were realized in the 1860s, and Venice became part of a new national state, the Kingdom of Italy. Though its empire is long gone, the splendor of Venice endures. It has remained a magnet for artists and poets, its light and lagoon fascinating painters like Turner and Monet. Its romantic waterways seducing writers from Lord Byron to Ernest Hemingway. Now, La Serenissima faces the challenges of mass tourism and rising seas.
The irony. The irony. The very thing that made Venice so powerful, so influential, so wealthy, is the very thing that's now killing Venice. The sea, the ocean, rising sea levels. Wow. Talk about double-edged sword. Talk about double-edged sword, bro. Oh my gosh.
Venetians are fighting back where they can, successfully pressuring authorities to reroute the largest cruise ships and limit the size of tourist groups. But Venice now finds itself on the
How is tourism affecting Venice? What? How is tourism what?
front line of the global climate crisis. There are fears that it could be engulfed by the sea before the end of the century.
Yeah,
This
Venice. Yeah, Barbados has the same problem. It's on the sea level already, and if global warming doesn't get addressed, but there's nothing we can do. That was a joke about Napoleon, but there's seriously nothing we can do. Global warming is kind of like so bad to the point where we could just minimize the damage. But if we continue to kind of be docile about it, then yeah, Barbados is gonna share the same fate as Venezuela.
extraordinary city
Can I say Venezuela? I meant Venice. Although I know Venezuela means Little Venice.
the center of a powerful maritime empire that lasted more than 1,000 years, has more battles to come. If you can't wait for your next fix of epic history, then head over to Nebula, where you can watch our brand new battle.
Is that it? That's it? That was very nice. That was like a bittersweet, bitter, sweet, bitter ending. That was actually very good. Actually, that expanded my knowledge a lot about this time period, especially Venice. I didn't really know much about Venice. I would definitely love to react to more like wars and conflicts around this time period in the future. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. If you got any recommendations, do tell me about that. I hope y'all like this new setup because you gotta get used to this. You gotta get used to this. You're gonna get used to this. You gotta get used to this, man. All right. You gotta get used to this. All right. Oh. Check out my other videos on my channel. Make sure that you subscribe. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like. And goodbye.